Hello and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent Clark, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, author of Leading Winning Teams, and I am a speaker globally. Most people know me because I spent over 13 years in professional baseball coaching in 3 World Series. And today on the Winners Find a Way show, we're going to talk about winning ways with a returning guest from Winners Find a Way, lawyer Mark Astor. Mark, how are you, buddy?
I am good. And I'm actually more excited for this show than the one we did last time, because now you're really going to put me to the test here, right? I mean, I'm stepping up to the bigs here. So let's go. I'm good. I'm excited to see you.
That's
You're
right.
A great guy
That's
anyway,
right. We got a little Q&A. I'm going to throw them a little change up, a little slide piece here.
Yeah, let's see if I can handle the fastball. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. You got to see if you can handle the 98, 99, right? And so this is what, and if it gets ugly, we got to go hard and in, right? You got to get out of the way of that crap. So
if it gets too bad, I'll just tap.
So listen, Mark is a world-renowned expert in law, prosecution. He's done a lot of different things. Astor Sinovich Law is his firm down in Florida. A lot of people are coming to Mark. What I love about Mark Astor is Mark's in law for inspiration. I mean, he has been in this game a long time, helped a lot of families. We were just getting ready for our call. He gets this call from a young intern of his who is starting law school today. This young lady I'm super excited about because she's day one today, which is so cool. And her father was incarcerated for a long time. Mark helped get him released. And this woman's on a great journey, and it sparks with a lot of things with her father, but Mark really nourished that along. Is that fair, Mark?
I think that is spot on. So this is an exciting day for me. One of our law clerks who, they listen, when the federal government gets their hands on you, you can lose everything really quickly. And the federal government did to her and her family is, it's just shocking, but she's an inspirational young lady. I'm so proud of her, and her mom and dad are amazing people. And so I feel like I'm back in law school for the first time. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait. When we get done, I'm calling her to see how the first day went.
Yeah, it's one of those things, a lot of coaches that coached for me in Major League Baseball, they came in as interns, they were staff, and I wish I'd have done that. Like, a lot of them went on to get their dream job, which is a major league job with another organization, because it's hard to get inside the one you're in, right? Like you already got somebody there and you've mentored under them. Sometimes you replace them, but oftentimes you go to somewhere else and you move to a new city and you got this job and new staff that's looking after you, and you're like thinking, I kind of liked my old staff better. And you go through all these things. And I wish I'd have called more and said, man, today's the day. Like, all those times that you said, hey, one day I'm going to, and she said that, right, Mark? One day I'm going to be in law school and I'm going to be making a difference. And today's that day. Like, it's this day for that day. And there's a lot of this days until that day. You're law clerk, you go help out, you do the grind, right, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, she got done with college. I don't even think she knew what she wanted to do. And parents said, "Hey, listen, she's got a whole summer going on. She doesn't know what to do. She needs to make a few dollars. Do you have room for her?" So listen, we made room for her. And a couple months in, she says, "I think I want to go to law school." So she's filling out all these applications, and we helped her with that. And she got admitted to where I went to school, which is Nova Southeastern. So I don't know, maybe some of my old professors are still around. And today was her first day, and I'm going to tell you, she's going to be a phenomenal lawyer, just phenomenal, better than I could ever have hoped to be. She's just a remarkable young lady, and she spent 6 months really being mentored by me and my wife, and she's going to be a kick-ass lawyer, no two ways about it. I'm just an amazing woman.
You really got to appreciate, one, not only this young lady doing this, but from a winning way standpoint, getting educated from someone who's really at that top level. But also, she brings an experience of this on both sides of this legal coin that's kind of crazy, right? And I think that's often what creates that passion for people that I think is game changing. So I'm super excited to hear her journey as well, and I'm sure that call will go well. Today on the Winning Ways, what we're going to talk about is some pretty common stuff in law, right? You get a lot of these calls. You've done a lot of advocacy for mental health and families, drug addiction, and one of the most common things is we always talk about is, what do you do if you get pulled over? Like, if you get pulled over, like, kids panic. And we also talk about the talk. A lot of families are like, man, I got to have the talk with my kids, because if they get pulled over, they better know, they're in possible danger. And, I've always looked at the law as an advocate of mine. Like, this is, I pay taxes. I'm helping their salary.
Me too.
Like, I want them to help me, but I also recognize they are in a position of authority who have got a lot of risk and a lot of things on the line. So we talk to our teenagers about that, about like, man, you yield to the authority, you do whatever asked, you don't do things that aren't asked, right? Like, you don't really there's not a lot of wiggle room. And this is what a real tough thing is when we saw our children at 16, 17 years old, when they couldn't be obedient to what we thought were basic parameters, like take the trash out on Tuesday night, and it's like, hey man, when an officer says, hey, listen, step out of the car and just stand over here, that doesn't mean, well, I felt like moving around to the rear of the car. Like, no. Obedience is at the highest level at this rate because they've got a job to do. And if you're not a threat, you need to eliminate any kind of risk here for everyone involved and just be an advocate and an adversary to that authority in that moment. And I'm not sure that's always easy to do. We see a lot of people who are like, oh, I remember the NFLer about a year ago. I was great with the officer, super respectful. And then you see the video and the guy's a total moron, right? If you remember your Miami Dolphin down there, like not great. And I'm like, very disrespectful. I mean, not right in any way. So let's talk about what happens in that scenario and what's best practice.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Look, I was prosecutor for 5 years. I've done a lot of defense work. I have a retired cop that works for me. And I can tell you, every time I get pulled over, and every once in a while I do get pulled over, I get nervous, right? And I get nervous because we're all familiar with some of the crazy stuff we've seen online where, you get an officer who just freaks out. The next thing you know, he's shooting somebody or she's shooting somebody. Yeah. So I think you have to understand that when we get pulled over, right, we're nervous. The officer's nervous too, right? Because one of the easiest way for an officer to get injured is when there's a traffic stop, right? Either some Looney Tune pulls out a gun and tries to shoot them, or they get rear-ended by somebody who's not paying attention, driving down the highway. And so they're nervous too. And let's not forget, they have a family to go home to at the end of the day too. So they got to be treated with a certain amount of respect. That's the first thing. The second thing is, look, these things, just about every department I'm aware of now is wearing some type of like video on their uniform. So these things are recorded. So if you're a jerk to the officer, that's getting recorded. But if you're polite, that's also getting recorded. So I think that it behooves you to be polite, right? I mean, some of these videos where the people are rude to the cop. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I'm sure they're not getting paid nearly enough to have you be a jerk to them. So just be respectful. I frankly found every time I've always been respectful. I don't think it's been a while since I've had a ticket. Now, of course, I wasn't driving like a complete lunatic like I did when I was a teenager, right? Mm. Maybe I get pulled over for doing 10 over, 12 over, 15 over, right? But I'm not driving like a lunatic. But when I get pulled over, I'm very, very respectful, okay? I don't make sudden movements. I keep my hands on the steering wheel. And when the officer says, can I see your registration, license, insurance? I say to the officer, my driver's license is down here. Is it okay if I go get it? I tell them what I'm going to do before I do it, right? So they're like, yeah. And I move slowly. I don't make any sudden movements because that makes the cop nervous, right? We don't want them getting nervous because they might respond accordingly, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, now, I love the other, we're back to that old, like, one, kill them with kindness, right? Like, yeah, we're back, we're like, hey, listen, they got a job to do. There's no reason. How much, and I want to pause right there because it's a great example. And let's say, Mark, you're in the car and you're doing all the right things. And you've got three of your Yahoo golf buddies who are kind of like, oh, this is just going to be pure comedy. Watch us screw around with this cop. And they want to play stupid games, right? Like, and not be so respectful. Do you tell people in the car, like, hey, listen, this is how this is happening. Everybody be cool. This is what's expected of us. We're grown adults. Let's be. And by the way, one of the things I love is like, and I found the same thing, is if I'm going 68 in a 55, I don't tell the officer I was going 49.
You don't have to admit anything.
Yeah, he knows what I was. Don't lie to the officer and go like, oh, that wasn't me. I had my cruise control set at 49. No, you didn't. Like, and he knows that. She knows that. So I think that's very important that we're not, pretending we're something we're not.
Yeah, and I look, first of all, if you've got your buddies in the car, you need to tell them, listen, be cool. right? Let's not pour gasoline on a fire here. Just be calm. And the other thing, Trent, that you bring up is the whole idea of, the officer says, and they will ask you, do you know how fast you were going? Right. And I think you could say, officer, I'm going to be respectful here, because you're a police officer. But my lawyer always told me I shouldn't answer any questions. I have a right to remain silent. So with all due respect, I'm not going to answer that question. If you need my license, my registration, insurance, more than happy to give it to you. Would you like me to provide it to you? That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay. It's respectful. Remember, it's being recorded, so you can keep your mouth shut. Now, I don't want to get too crazy with the law, because some people will say, well, I should have, what about Miranda and all that other stuff? The Supreme Court ruled years ago, you don't have a right to be Mirandized at the side of a road if it's a typical traffic stop, right? But you always have a right to remain silent. You just don't get told that by the officer. So it's okay to tell the officer, look, I'm not going to discuss what happened here. I'm going to exercise my right to remain silent, but I'm happy to give you my information. Is that okay? Right? I mean, they can't force you to admit anything, right? What do they do? Take you out the car and put a gun to your head and say, tell me how fast you were going? It's not happening, right? And remember, it's being recorded. So if the cop's a jerk, he's a jerk, or she's a jerk. It's there to be preserved for your day in court. And remember, whatever happens, you're entitled to your day in court. You're entitled to due process. So remember that.
Okay.
We'll fix it afterwards.
So we got this. So first of all, respect, always good and right.
Yeah.
2, the video being recorded. Know that there is now a record of all this. You are not like, this is not some hidden agenda. You're not, I know a lot of victim conspiracy theories like, oh yeah, they're turning their camera off to talk to me. Like, no, they're not. They've got it. This is all for everybody's record, which is we publicly pay for this. It's a value to our society that we get this. We get it right. And so we want that video to show as evidence that everybody's acting accordingly. And then we're going to communicate well, move slowly, no quick action. We're all nervous, and everyone just wants the right thing. And actually, by doing that, it's over much more rapidly. Don't you think, Mark?
I think so. I mean, I think there's a couple of other issues. And you mentioned, like, if I got my boys in the car, the officer might actually order everybody out. Now, yeah. I don't necessarily think that's legal unless there's a reason to order everybody out. But the officer might say, okay, I want you guys out of the car. And you could ask him, officer, are you ordering all of us to get out of the car? I am. Okay, we'll get out. Comply with the order, because I'm going to tell you something. If you say no, your ass is getting out of that car anyway, whether you like it or not. And then things are going to get escalated, and you're going to get dragged out of the car, right? And so are your buddies. They're not going to let you get away with that stuff. They're just not. So clarify. Are you ordering us to get out of the car? I am.
That's a good one.
Okay, we'll get out.
Yep.
Now it's clear.
And I think they've got their reasons.
But you're getting out anyway.
Yeah, and they've got their reasons. And if they felt like, and if the video proves that there's no merit for them to order you out, that's going to show up too. That like, hey, listen, this is all after this point. This is all no issue, because you got nothing on the license. You haven't run it yet. No one seems to be acting out. You're just profiling because there's 4 males and you're a female or whatever. Like, what are you doing there? And I really respect the fact that, there's an issue in my hometown that happened, and the guy got out of the car, like wasn't ordered, wasn't asked. He just starts getting out and going crazy. And like, meanwhile, you got one officer and he's like, I'm eyeing the person on the car, and there's also someone in the passenger seat, and he's kind of vexed and doesn't really know. And then all of a sudden it turns into a chase, and he doesn't know what the passenger, who that is, if they have any priors. The driver did have a prior. So like, and probably a warrant, right? So like, there's all sorts of reasons for that person to run, but like the person in the passenger seat could be sitting there with 5 warrants, and these people are ready to defend their freedom in their eyes, right? And so there's a lot of things going on there. And I think, hard to navigate for a 25 or younger police officer with a lot going on.
And listen, it's intimidating when you get pulled out. I mean, like, I've been dealing with police officers for the last 30 years, and it's uncomfortable for me too, right? Primarily because I know that things can get out of hand very quickly. So I do everything I can to make the officer feel comfortable and safe and all of that stuff. And if by chance, the cop gets out of hand, well, then there's a video there, hopefully, right, to save my butt, which is another thing when we talk about the whole dash cam thing. I have a dash cam, right? And the reason I have a dash cam is because it not only records what goes on outside, but what's going on inside. And if I get pulled over, right, it records the conversation. So that's another reason to have a dash cam. But yeah, I mean, you got to treat people with respect, especially somebody who's got a gun and a badge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a sidebar right there of like, the dash cam. There's more reasons for that than just this kind of scenario, right? There's insurance, there's all sorts of things that are happening out there. We're seeing an escalation of all sorts of issues from driving under the influence, which is, it's one of the things that drives me crazy, Mark, is we have a pretty clear, we've tightened up pretty close to the DUI on alcohol. And now we have this high level of marijuana in the market, right? Which is now legalized by a bunch of states. And I don't think they're doing blood draws for THC on a driver at site. So we don't seem to have a test for that. Like, I don't know how they're actually garnering people driving high, and it's not good. And yet from a dash cam, you can see someone waving back and forth in front of you going, oh man, I'm just trying to get away from this person driving. Who knows what's going to happen next? And now there's record and history.
Yeah, I mean, look, the drug thing is a totally different ball game. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of people driving intoxicated here, and some of them are high too. And there's just no need for it. I mean,
yeah, we're gonna get to that next. Let's get to that next. Let's finish. Okay. Let's finish the how do we wrap this very well with the officer?
Well, look, I mean, if the officer says get out, just confirm he's ordering you out. Okay, I'll get out. Now, the other issue is the officer might say, can I search the car? And again, you can say to the officer, respectfully, officer, I've always been told by my lawyer, I do not have to consent to a search. I'm not consenting to the search. Now, if the officer at that point decides he's going to search the car anyway, well, then we have grounds to, have the judge throw out any evidence, they may be. And obviously, if you've got something like weed in the car, probably not a good idea to consent. Now, does that mean that they can't still get in the car? Yeah, I mean, they could call a sniffer dog to keep you there for, quote, a reasonable amount of time. If the dog sniffs, they're going in. So, moral of the story is don't keep weed in the car, right? Even if there's more than one of you, because at that point they'll just arrest everybody if they find weed in the car, as opposed to just one person.
You know what I see, Mark, a lot is where we're up in the north, everybody has guns. Like we have rifles and people go hunting, and a lot of people are not properly caring for their gun in a car, which means a gun's in a case. It's never loaded unless you have a permit to carry that way. Like there's a lot of things that go into proper utilization of a weapon, and the people who do it right always know that. I shouldn't say always, but typically know how to traffic and transport a gun properly under the guidance, because they've been trained, they've learned that. And yeah. I see younger kids who are like, get lazy, right? Like you learned, but all of a sudden like, well, I just threw it in the trunk. And I'm like, so you don't want them to search because you have a loaded weapon in the car and you don't have it permitted properly. And you're not trafficking, you're not transporting it properly.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You don't have to consent, but if the officer asks you if there's a gun in the car, I think you should tell them there's a gun in the car.
Yes.
Right? Because at that point, the officer, if you tell them no and they end up searching the car and they find it anyway, then you're going to have a serious problem. I mean, and again, you don't have to consent to the search, but you got to make sure the officer feels safe anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And I know it's a bit of a quandary here, but
I tell the officer that every time. If I get pulled over and I have a weapon in the car, in the trunk, I say, hey, listen, I have a registered weapon in the trunk. It is separated from any ammunition. The gun is locked. The case is locked. This is where it is. Just in advance of, I want you to know that in advance of. And if you'd like me to open the trunk for you to see it, that's great. Like I tell them in advance of where it is, what's going on, because I'm transporting it properly, because I don't want that risk.
I mean, obviously, if you're a convicted felon and you're in possession of a firearm, you probably should keep your mouth shut and not consent to anything.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing it right, then there's no problem telling the officer.
But if you're a convicted felon and that comes up, are they going to have proper cause? They're going to have proper cause to search.
Well, I don't know if they necessarily would. I mean, if they find out they do a background check, this guy's a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Right. And they say, well, do you have a firearm in the car? I'd be keeping my mouth shut. Again,
one of those, I choose the right to remain silent on this. Like,
I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Does that mean they wouldn't search the car anyway? They just might. Does it mean it could get used against you? Yeah, maybe it gets tossed. at some point in front of a judge. But again, if you've got nothing to hide, it's not a problem. And I'm not trying to counsel people how to break the law here, by the way. So we're clear.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so let's finish
legally.
let's finish this conversation. To wrap this up, you've been respectful, you've done what's asked. The officer says, hey, yeah, go on your way, gives you a ticket, gives you a warning, gives you a verbal warning, hey, slow down, whatever it is, everybody back in the car. Anything else that you feel like we should close with?
I mean, look, if the officer gives you a ticket, fine. You take the ticket, you sign for it, you get yourself a lawyer, and you go and have your day in court, right? It's that simple, But I see these videos where people they just make things so much worse. They decide they're not stopping, or they stop and then they run. Now you've got a felony fleeing, eluding, from a silly traffic ticket for doing 10 over the speed limit. So crazy people do silly stuff. You can be polite and respectful, still protect your constitutional rights, like the right to remain silent, the right not to consent to a search, and do it right. And if you get a ticket, you get a ticket. It's just a ticket.
I think it's so easy to escalate this deal, right? It's so easy to escalate, and not really anything more than a bad attitude, right? Like not really anything illegal, just having a lousy attitude with someone doing a job. And I see it all the time. And we've all seen the videos, right? And we also have seen videos of some bad actors on the other side.
No question.
And we know that exists. But listen, they're screening these people as well as we are all in our jobs. And we have a couple employees probably at your job that you think what, not great. So people get through the system everywhere, and you find out you got a subpar employee some places. Now, is that standard? Listen, one or two issues like this, they're not going to be back out there because their chief's never going to allow that if this is the issue. So they're going to take those people out of that situation once that's been recorded once or twice. So bad employees get put out hey, you're going to go work a desk. You're not allowed to be out there anymore. You're going to be pushing paper because you interacting with people turns out only a challenge for our department, right? So that's going to change too. So we have to, I like what you're saying, which is follow through to the process. The process is there for a reason. And for the most part, it works 90+% of the time. Is that fair?
Yeah. And look, if the cop's a jerk, I mean, and I've had that happen to me as well, fine. There's a process to deal with it, right? You file an internal affairs complaint after the fact, right? And let the police department deal with it. So, right. Yeah. And if he's a jerk and there's evidence that was illegally seized, no problem. You'll move to have all that evidence excluded, and the case goes bye-bye. I'm going to tell you, no judge that I was ever in front of likes the fact that the cop's a jerk. It doesn't look good in front of a judge when the cop is a jerk. It just simply doesn't. Yep. Especially when they're a jerk and they also do things that are illegal, right? Like searching a car when there's no consent and no probable cause. The judge is going to be like, listen, I don't care what you found in the car. It's gone, right? Yeah. I'm excluding it. You lose. Goodbye. Get out of my courtroom. Next time, do it right and be polite to the folks in the community.
Yeah, and I think internal affairs is, you're looking at a 3-strike rule here. Like, listen, they don't want to deal with people that are always having challenges out there. 3 strikes, you're out. Like, that's it. Like, and you're also going to have a reputation. And by the way, meanwhile, you're demeaning the reputation of the city or the county or the state, whoever you're working for. And they don't want that black eye.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's bad apples in every industry, mine included.
Yeah. Good point. Okay, so let's go into the next thing, which is talking a little bit about, the world of driving under the influence. Man, this is a crazy kind of topic today because we see it a lot. It's becoming more common, which is insano because we have Uber, Lyft, taxi cabs, we have all sorts of stuff. And for probably most of the time, less than $30, you have a ride home and an inconvenience the next day to go get a car. But the downside of not choosing that, like the plus minus weight scale of this thing is so staggeringly negative. It's crazy, yet people continue to do it.
Yeah, I was telling you before we came online, I was actually this past weekend, I was having dinner with a former colleague of mine from our prosecutor. Now, I've been out the office since '99. He just left about a year ago. And, one of the staggering things he shared with me is that we have more drunk people here on the road here in South Florida than ever before. And listen, when I was prosecutor back in the '90s, we prosecuted the rear end off these cases. It didn't take a whole lot for you to get pinched for DUI, even if you didn't blow. And I tried hundreds of these things. I filed hundreds of these cases, and yet apparently, through all the steps in education and the sanctions and the fines and all of that stuff, we still have people who are driving drunk and high. And like as you said, Trent, right? How hard is it to call an Uber from your phone? It's ridiculous. It's so easy these days not to drive that way, and yet people are still doing it. It's crazy, and it's so dangerous to do this. So dangerous.
Yeah, I really appreciate this one because, one, the prevention is relatively easy, right? The risk is so high. It's just the risk reward in this whole thing is so just imbalanced that there's no reward. There's really no reward, right? And so, it comes down to lots of options. And it comes down to me, I guess the question to you, Mark, is a lot of municipalities have taken a lot of step to create a larger penalty. And, two questions for you. One is are the penalties enough to deter? Because the challenge I see in this is this victim mentality of like, I can't believe I lost my driver's license for a year. Like, I think you got off great that you didn't kill somebody and end up in prison. Like the upside of just that is not bad, right? And I know that is a massive inconvenience for folks. And I know if you don't live in a major city where you have public transport and all that stuff, nothing good about this, but you better get on your bike and start pedaling. But I'm amazed at someone who goes, well, I committed the infraction, but whatever. There's no way I deserve this. Do you hear that a lot?
Yeah, even when I was prosecutor back in the '90s, and I did some defense work for a number of years too. You're talking about losing your driver's license, significant fines, right? Even if it's a misdemeanor, up to
10,000 in Michigan. It was like 10,000.
Yeah, if it's a felony, you're going to go to jail or prison. But even on the misdemeanors, up to $1,000. There's the community service hours, going to they make you go through DUI school. There's a myriad of things that they make you do. And they've increased the fines and the punishment, and it hasn't really seemed to make a difference. And I don't know. I don't know why that is. Why people, even though it's even easier than ever before not to do this, why they continue to do it. How many people can we lock up for this stuff? On a first DUI, as long as you don't, there's no accident. Here in Palm Beach County, we have a program which has been around for quite a while now for first-time offenders, where they can actually plead guilty to a lesser crime, and there's no criminal driver's license suspension, although motor vehicles is going to take your license anyway. But on a first DUI, you can still get a hardship license, so you can drive to work, drive to school, those types of things. So I think it's on a second DUI, and again, it's been a while, so bear with me. But we started. We were impounding the car, right? Somebody come along, put a boot in the car, couldn't drive for 10 days. I don't know what else we can do, but I think education is a big part of it. But at some point, maybe we got certainly on a second DUI. Even back in the '90s, if you got a second DUI within 5 years of the first, they'll lock you up for 10 days.
Yeah,
they lock you up.
So I think a third DUI in Michigan, and I don't quote me on this. Yeah, I think it was a year in prison at one point. Like if you had that within a statute of time and you got a third, it was like a year in prison. Like that was the minimum. Like that's where we started. And it was like, man, like that seems fierce, but like, hey, listen, man, how many times are you going to have to get the lesson? Like, I like this idea of grace. I like this idea that this first time you can go through the process, you can plea down, pay for that. You plea down, you go to the class, you look at all the things that have happened, and you get non-felony, but you also get a restricted deal like, hey, listen, you're going to be on a pretty tight thing. You might have to blow to start your car. You may have to only get the driving privileges for 10 hours during a work period, and that's it. I mean, I like a significant consequence for this action.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can deter people by punishing them from doing it again. I don't know if punishing them is deterring the next schmuck that drives drunk, right? I just don't know if it is. And look, we've had a lot of people move here from other parts of the country, so we have more people than ever. So that's going to bring a certain percentage of people down here that are going to do this. And I mean, look, even today, even in the mid '90s, when I was prosecutor, the mandate, the criminal mandate, was to punish first and rehabilitate second. That is still the mandate today. So here in Florida, if you do the crime, at some point you're going to do the time. And there was another saying when I used to do defense work, which is you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. Meaning you may not be guilty, but your ass is going to go to jail anyway, at least for the evening until you see a judge tomorrow. And that really is the case with the DUI, right? If you get pulled over and you have been drinking and the officer smells even a slight whiff of alcohol on you, I don't care if you do the roadsides or don't do the roadsides. If you blow or don't blow, you're going to take a ride to jail almost certainly and spend the night in the county jail, right? And maybe you won't do it again, but whether or not it deters the next person, I don't know.
That is in the state of Florida. And I wonder, as you say that, because so many people come from other states, right? Maybe it's much more lenient. And all of a sudden they think, oh, well, we see this, right? Where people literally don't understand that the laws are different per state, per country. Like, hey, this is a non-drug, country, Russia. So I wouldn't be carrying drugs through there, but we've seen this a lot that people, I don't know if they think they're above the law. I think they think like,
you won't get caught. They think you won't get caught.
They think they won't get caught. So is it, let's just talk about the right thing. Let's talk about so we always talk about this as, one of the challenges I've seen. One of the challenges I've seen is like, I feel like here in the States, we've massively improved our physical ability to get better, right? We've learned, we've educated. There is no reason for anyone to have obesity. We have all the tools, we have all the training. It's a personal decision. And you can make that. That's fine. Like you can make it. It's up to your choice, your freedom to do that. But like it's not like you can't get educated to it. We've done a lot on emotional conditioning, probably in the last 25 years, where like, hey, these emotions run hot. And if you don't have control over that, that's going to create problems in your life. From a sports perspective, the mentality is now on the front burner of everybody. What's your mentality for how you're doing things? Where are you at in a space to be prepared? One of the things that I think has left is the moral conditioning. We had that in the 50s and 60s, and we were morally conditioned. And now it's like, we're dropping that. We're dropping that. I think there's a challenge that, people know that this is not right. It's against the law. It's illegal. And there's nowhere in America that they don't know this. Like that I could just drink and drive and do whatever I want. Like, that morally that is incorrect. And everybody knows, just like speeding. If you've ever chance to actually learn to drive a car, the implications of this are all severe. And there's nowhere you can go in the United States where that information is not readily available and known. So to me, it becomes a moral issue. Do you see that the same?
Yeah, I think that people, number one, I don't want to get political, we've become a society that takes no responsibility, right? They don't see any consequences for actions, and they don't think they're going to get caught. And if they get caught, well, they weren't guilty anyway. And as an aside, my father told me before my parents met, he had a sister that was killed in a drunk driving accident. Ironic, I should end up doing defense work, which my father seemed to have no issue with. But even, this is back in the 60s, where she was killed in a car accident.
Young. She was young.
Yeah. So, it's the old saying, let's just have one for the road, right? One that gets you killed down the road, not for the road.
Or somebody else, usually.
Yeah. I don't know if you can rationally explain it other than the fact people think there's no consequences. They'll get away with it. They won't get caught. And if they do, well, they weren't guilty anyway. So why should they why should they be prosecuted?
I would also argue, Mark, that they really didn't get away with it. There's never, like, from a moral conscience that's going to leave the fact that I killed somebody. That horror is going to follow them wherever they go.
Listen, I totally get it. And listen, we had an incident here recently where a young man, I don't know, 17, 18, was driving. I don't know if you know what an BMW M5 is, but it's like a
Sure.
600 horsepower four-door
Yeah,
sedan rocket ship. You got
yeah,
to be able to drive it. This kid was 17. Okay, he'd already been pinched for driving over 100. This time, I think he was doing 105 and rear-ended somebody and killed a bunch of people. I'm sorry, but the parents had no business giving a kid that young that kind of a weapon. Now, he could have been driving a car with 200 horsepower and still kill them. But you give a kid a car like that with 600 horsepower. I mean, what did you think he was going to do? Drive it slowly? I mean, I'm
yeah.
sorry, but in that
You bought
case,
him a race car.
you bought him a race car and expected him not to race it. Listen,
Yeah.
when I was a kid growing up, my father gave me a hand-me-down Ford Escort with 84 horsepower, and I drove the car like a goddamn lunatic
Yeah.
with 84 horsepower. If I'd have had
Yeah.
600 horsepower, I wouldn't have been sitting here today. I'd have killed myself. I almost killed myself with 84 horsepower. So imagine
Yeah.
what I would have done with 600, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sorry. There's got to be some accountability to the parents, right?
Yeah.
And it's up to the parents to educate their children, right? If you get caught driving, you get your first speeding ticket, you're off the road for 2 weeks. You get a second one, I take the keys away forever. You can go take a bus. You get pinched for DUI, I take the keys away forever. You're done until you're an adult and you can deal with it yourself, right? Yeah. But you cannot. You give a kid a 600 horsepower weapon. I mean, I'm sorry. The parents have some responsibility for that. Shame on them for giving the kid a weapon and then expecting him not to use it. Just ridiculous.
Have you ever seen legal in that realm where a parent was held responsible? I've seen this from, kind of different in the alcohol space, which is somebody serving children, at an event, underage kids, a graduation party. And then, one of the kids drove away, got into an accident, died. And the people who were the host of that party, who allowed it, they were held accountable. And I've seen that, but I've never seen someone who purchased that for their child get something that. Have you ever seen that? Is there any precedent?
I don't know here in the state of Florida. I mean, I think the argument would be it's akin to giving a kid a loaded gun and then after he tells you he's going to go shoot somebody and then giving him the gun anyway. That I think is a different story, right? Where we can.
Now we have seen that. We have seen that precedent. Because
I don't know if there's any difference here, but
yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to hold the parents accountable. Now, from a civil suit point of view, I'm sure the parents. I'm sure when the family of the decedents got a hold of this case, I'm sure they sued everybody in sight, including any insurance carrier that the parents may have had, and maybe them personally, they had assets that could be garnished. But at the end of the day, I mean, mom and dad got to bear some responsibility. I know you want to spoil your kids sometimes, but that is insanity. To give a kid a 600 horsepower race car, to me, it's just completely negligent. It really is.
Okay, so we touched on this last one. Let's talk about insurance, because, man, these insurance companies seem to be doing fine, right? Like they are, they seem like the wealthiest of the wealthiest companies, and yet, man, we're paying higher premiums. I mean, the cost of ownership, for a kid under 25 to even have insurance on their car, like I don't know how a kid at 21 years old can afford college tuition, insurance for a vehicle, and rent right now. I mean, because what kid makes $45,000 a year at 19 years old? Like, and that's what almost is required to pay your bills. So it's going to behoove you that you can't go to college because you're going to have to work to create the revenue in to pay for this high end. Yet every time you turn around, someone's in an accident and someone's uninsured and there's nothing. And the person who's actually in the right, held the insurance, doesn't get rewarded and gets a higher premium and ends up having to pay at some level their deductible and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, look, I pay the insurance for my mom's car, my wife's car, and every year it goes up, and I don't have any accidents. I haven't had a speed ticket, although I'll probably get one now. As I walk, see, I've hexed myself there. I'm gonna get a ticket on the way up the turnpike.
Knock on some wood, man. Knock on wood.
I'm lucky. But yeah, every year my insurance goes up. And why? That's because, I mean, I think part of it is there's a lot of, nefarious claims. I mean, you and I were talking about the YouTube video I watched before I came on, where, this guy was driving down the street, minding his own business. I think he was in like an 18-wheeler, and these guys in front of him kept brake checking him. They finally all stopped. The guys in front were in a little Honda. They threw the car in reverse, and they drove back into the truck, right? Next thing you know, four people are getting out. They're all like holding the back of the head like they're all injured, and I got a concussion, my neck hurts. and they looked at the driver and realized he had a dash cam, and realized they're like, oh shit. Because what they were doing is they were setting him up, and then they backed into him to make it look like he rear-ended them.
Yeah.
So you get scammers like that all the time. Now, if the guy didn't have a dash cam, who's going to believe that he didn't rear-end him?
Yeah.
You know, and it's stuff like that, you know. But we've also got people driving around who don't have insurance, right? So now I have to carry extra insurance, right? Uninsured motorists coverage, so that if I have an accident, somebody rear ends me, they don't have insurance coverage, and you know I need that coverage to take care of some things like the two herniated discs in my neck. So yeah, I mean that's what's going to happen, you know.
Another cost to your insurance, because I have to guard against people who are uninsured. And so, and last time I checked, I mean, I didn't think you could title a car in a state without proof of a license and insurance.
So yeah, they go buy the insurance, they keep it for a couple of weeks, and they cancel it.
Wow. I mean, this is part of this disposable generation, right? Everything is disposable, including cars, lives, everything else. And it's crazy.
I'm not saying that's legal, by the way. I'm saying it happens, though.
Yeah.
Right? It's not legal, right? Because now you're driving around in a insured car.
Well, and now, by the way, you've just run into the next risk, which is you get pulled over for a very general, you got a blinker that's not working, so you didn't turn your right blinker on. You take the turn, and the officer's like, hey, man, why didn't you signal? Oh, I didn't know my light was out. Okay, well, you know that click, 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 like your car's telling you one of your lights is out, right? Because we have signals in the car. And so they're like, oh, I didn't know that's what that meant. Okay, show me your license and registration. And they might ask for proof of insurance. And so now all of a sudden, you're the person driving an uninsured vehicle. And you're like, oh, I canceled that. I don't have insurance. Like, well, wait a minute. How's that work? And I don't know if there's legal for the officer to do that, but like, this is the issue we're running into. And I think it's back to what you said. It's back to like a lack of accountability.
Yeah. God, I wish we could fix some of these things as we sit here.
we solved it right here on the show, Mark. That's it. Like all the officers are going to see this and go, listen, we resolved it. We got to fix. There's
all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, listen, over the weekend we had an 18-wheeler that decided to do a U-turn. You know, like if you drive, I'm sure you have it where you are, right? If you're driving down the turnpike or the interstate, there's these gaps in the middle of the road, right? It says no U-turn. It's for where the cops can go there and turn around and go back. Yep. We had some crazy guy in an 18-wheeler decided to do a U-turn in one of those areas where the cops turn around. Okay, 3 people were killed that slammed into him. It turned out he was not here legally, and I don't want to get into that whole shit show, because I came here as an immigrant, so I get it, right? He was not here legally, and he had a driver's license from California. So the state of California gave him a license despite the fact he was not here legally. So he got himself a job as an 18-wheeler driver and pulls a U-turn in the middle of, I think it was the interstate here in Florida. And 3 people, I mean, they probably had no chance. They slammed right into him. I'm sure they were, judging by the photographs, they were probably all decapitated, right? I mean, the car went right under the 18-wheeler. I mean, this is some of the crap that's going on here. And it's not just Florida. I mean, it's everywhere, you know. I mean, look, he could have been legal. He could have been legal and had a driver's license that was perfectly, kosher, and still done something stupid like that. But the point is, I mean, 3 people were killed for stupidity. I mean,
yeah.
Jesus, I mean, you're an 18-wheeler. How the hell did he think he was going to turn that around in the middle of a 3-lane highway or a 2-lane highway, whatever it was? Insanity, stupidity.
I think this is the challenge of it all, right? This is the challenge when we say, where do you decide one thing, well, we're going to let this go. Like, we're going to let this go, that they're not legalized through immigration to come in here and work under those parameters, because they're, we already have parameters. Like if you're not a legal immigrant, you do not get a driver's license. Now, that doesn't mean you can't operate on a driver's license from another country, as we know, but a commercial license, that does mean that you cannot do that, right? Like this is a different deal. This is a job and business now, which is also taking an American job, all sorts of different challenges from our system, right? Which is tax paying, everything else, right? So it starts creating waves of issues in all sorts of categories. And these things are starting to become tsunamis. These are not a pebble stone ripple effect. These are becoming tsunami effects. And this is where I think this lack of accountability. We don't choose to like, hey, we're going to walk the line. This is what it says. And no one likes that this is the way it says. But because the way it says it, the way it's done, it creates order. And so when we don't have order, what happens is someone acts out of order, kills
chaos.
3 innocent people.
Yeah. You and I could sit here all day, Trent, and talk about this. And I've purposely avoided trying to get into the debate with people about the whole immigration thing.
Yeah, good.
But look, I went through the immigration process. I've been here almost 38 years. It'll be 38 years in December. In fact, I was just back in England. I got back 2 weeks ago. It was my first trip back in 15 years. And for all the craziness that we have here, I can't tell you. First of all, I can't tell how proud I am to be an American. I really am. This is my country. Okay, when I stand up at a football game and I put my hand on my heart and sing the national anthem, right? It does move me to tears. I'm proud to be an American. I really am. This is, in my opinion, this is still the greatest country. This is still the greatest country to be an entrepreneur, right? And it doesn't matter what the color of your skin, your religion, your sexual orientation, any of that crap.
Your education level, any of that, right?
If you work your butt off, you can be successful. My father left school at 14. My mother, 16. I come from nothing, okay? Now, my father built businesses. Some were successful, some were not. He made money. He lost money. One of the reasons I went back to London, I took my wife back with me and my mom. I wanted to show my wife where I grew up from, what I came from. She met my family, what's left of it.
Yeah.
I don't think she could believe the humble beginnings that I come from, right? And look, I'm very blessed. I built a business from nothing. And I have all the material things I could ever want, although I don't have a private jet yet, but maybe that's not something I want.
Yeah, right.
But I did it because I worked my ass off, right? And I didn't cry about things when the phone wasn't ringing. And so, I think what really irritates me is when I see people who want to crap on our flag and say horrible things about the country. And listen, if you don't like the president, you don't like the president. I don't care. But this is America, and we should be proud to be Americans, because it took me a long time. I worked in a presidential campaign in 2004. I couldn't even vote in that election. And I was working in I took a year off to go work on a presidential campaign. I won't tell you who it was because it doesn't matter. The point was I cared because I don't like the direction the country was going in. And I took a year off. I took money out of my own savings. I went back to school for a year. I worked on a campaign because I cared. And it was important to me because I'm proud to be an American.
I love that, Mark. I love it. I love it because I tell a lot of people 2 things, that if you want to find the most proud Americans in this country, please talk to a legal immigrant who knows the sacrifices they had to make to get here. And by the way, if you want to know anything about our jurisprudence, the country, our laws, our Congress, what does everybody always want to talk about? They always want to talk about the Constitution. Guess what you have to know to get immigration status here in America? You're tested on all of it, right? They know more about our country's legal process, Constitution, than anybody else. And so I said, please talk to one because they know a different world. The second thing I tell them is, if you don't like it here, please thicken up your passport and go find out. Because
no one's keeping you here.
I just don't hear anybody going, I'm defecting to Kazakhstan. Like, you darn right you're not. Like, you know what you don't know what you have here, but you know that it's a lot better than that, right? Like, so like this is the challenge. And I'm not knocking Kazakhstan, right? I'm just saying that we're not seeing people defect to these areas. And that's the reality of the deal. And man, I love traveling the world. It's amazing for me. I love to see culture. There's fabulous people all over this world who've got just a great heart for living and humanity, and it's awesome. And no matter where I've gone, no matter the beauty and the scenery, man, when I hit U.S. soil, man, I'm just one of those. I'm one of these children of an immigrant a long time ago, just like everybody else in the United States, because we're a bunch of mutts, right? And then, but I was just born with the visa. Like, I was just born with the golden card, right? I didn't do anything for it. So, as a baseball guy, I know I was born on third base. Like, it's not like I went around and go, oh yeah, I hit the home run. Like, I didn't. Like, I was born like here, and I got the benefit, but I don't take that for granted, right? I just don't believe in that. And I'm like you, man. I love it. I love to see like the NHL playoffs, man. Everybody in LA belting out the national anthem in LA. You always hear so many bad things about LA, and I'm all going, hey man, why aren't you guys all focused on this right now. Here's 20,000 people in LA who are singing that anthem from the top of their lungs, knowing like this is a pretty good spot. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, and there's challenges in our humanity, but we still believe in this place.
Listen, I'll leave you with one thing. Next a week from Friday, I'll be with my wife. We'll be in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So my alma mater.
Come on, baby, right up in my country. Let's go.
Go, baby. I'm a Wolverine.
I know you are. I know you are.
True. And I will be there with my wife, and we will be there at the home opener for Michigan.
Who's the Wolverines have?
We play New Mexico, so it's a bit of a soft game. But, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, you know what? It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Once college football season, none of it matters, right? College football is back, baby. For 3 months of the year, the world, I don't care what's happening in the world. College football is back, baby. How bad can it be?
It's the big house and 110,000 of my closest friends.
You got it. We're all going to sing the national anthem and then sing the victors. And that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, right? And I mean, I think we still have these things that kind of bring us back. And you know what? The funny thing is that 110,000 people brings a bunch of New Mexico folks, and it brings a bunch of Ann Arbor folks, and it brings a bunch of people who never went to school there, who just love the school, right? And they're faithful followers. And yet the reality is that from a humanity standpoint, we are all very much alike. We are all within here. Everyone wants to exploit the stuff that's outside that. Listen, folks, we're a lot alike. We're a lot alike. We all bleed the same. So for everybody, man, another fabulous show, Winners Find a Way, Winning Ways with Mark Astor. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. Wow. Always a fun time to spend time together. And man, I love talking this shop. And I think there's some great advice that people are going to take away and get wiser to how they do that in the future. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, brother. Good to see you.
Good to see you. For everybody else, Winners Find a Way every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, live. You can catch our show. And then, of course, our podcast drops every Friday morning. You're going to check that out. And so we're so thankful for you to be here. Check out my book, Leading Winning Teams. Check out Mark Astor. You can find him at Mark. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me online, mentalhealthaddictionlawfirm.com. That's mentalhealthaddictionlawfirm.com, or just Google me. I'm all over social media. I put out content every day. I'm not hard to. I always tell people I'm easy to find. I can't hide.
All right. For everybody else,